Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to another YouTube video, and today we're doing another podcast, another little episode, sit down, just talk to you guys about, the NFL season, the week one, kind of what happened with all the games and everything like that. So I'm excited, have a ton of notes, have a ton of stuff I want to talk to you guys about. And of course, all of this is going to be raw, unedited, long form content. So what I'm going to be doing for all of the episodes is I'm going to be throwing up a timestamp of all the things I'm going to be talking about, so that way you don't have to sit and listen for something you don't want to hear me talk about. So the timestamp is going to be up. It's already been up, so just take a screenshot of it, pause, do what you got to do, skip to the time, whatever you want to do. But yeah, now let's just jump right into it. Actually, one thing, if you're new here, make sure to drop a like and also subscribe if you haven't already. So first things first is, if you haven't noticed already, I'm a Dolphins fan. I'm a Dolphins fan, right? So I'm a Dolphins fan, so that's the first thing we're going to talk about here is the Dolphins-Chargers game. And man, I thought it was a great game. It had my heart pumping the whole time. Our offense, the Dolphins offense was great. And so was the Chargers offense. I mean, their run game was insane. It was just offense back and forth the whole game. So one thing I want to kind of talk about here is Tua played good. I don't want to say he played great, but Tua definitely played good, right? So a couple of things. I'm very critical on quarterbacks. If you are new to this channel, I am especially hard on quarterbacks. I played quarterback myself in high school, in case you didn't know. So that's why I kind of am really critical on them. So a couple of things here. First, to point out before going into Tua's play is he wasn't sacked, which was a blessing. There was no Teron Armstead, but you didn't even notice he wasn't playing. I didn't even know Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack were playing for the Chargers. Like, did you hear their names called? The only time you heard one of their Joey Bosa's name called was when he got the face mask on Tua. So the Dolphins O-line definitely stepped up. I think they were the 28th or something ranked offensive line last season. Really horrible. So they've definitely made a great improvement. We do have, I think that was our rookie center, or it was a new center that we have. He messed up on a couple of snaps, but they played good. They protected Tua, and they were able to run the ball. I'll get into that later, but Tua, he was 28 of 45, 466 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So yes, those stats look great, right? Excuse me. However, like I said, I'm critical, so we're going to dive into a couple of things. First things first, there were 2 passes that he forced into triple coverage, not double coverage. He forced into triple coverage and just stared the receiver down, and it's kind of like, why are you doing that? That's just kind of one of those mistakes where you don't really see elite quarterbacks make, like a Josh Allen, like a Joe Burrow, like a Patrick Mahomes. Like, they don't really force stuff into triple coverage like that. You may see it once every 4 or 5 games, but you don't see it twice in the same game. So that was something I did not really like. And another thing was he threw 3 passes that were underthrown. 3 of them that were underthrown because he's throwing off his back foot. And the 4th one he underthrew, he got caught, and it was for an interception. So Tua very easily could have had 2 or 3 interceptions this game, but he didn't. So other than that, though, Tua played great. His decision-making was phenomenal. You can definitely tell his pocket presence has gotten a lot better and following through with those passes. And he's really precise and accurate with where he wants to go with the football besides downfield. But his passes were great, throwing in a lot of soft spots in the zones, throwing in man coverage. Oh my God! The both of those throws to Tyreek, the one on the run where he stepped up on 3rd and 10, and then the one in the end zone to take a lead in the 4th quarter with 1:48 left. Just great throws. So yeah, if I were to grade Tua, I would give him like A-, B+. But Tua played great. One of the things before we go to the defense here is Tyreek is on pace for 2,000 plus yards already, and it was only the first game. Excuse me. Oh my God. So, but one thing the Dolphins need to do better that they haven't done last season, but yet again, we passed for 466 yards, is we need to establish the run. I mean, Mike McDaniel established a run in the first quarter, and I was like, oh my God, we're going to rush for 120 yards. Let's go. Raheem Mostert had 31 rushing yards in the first quarter. He finished the game with 37 rushing yards. So just completely abandoned the run, but that's something the Dolphins definitely need to incorporate into their game plan a lot more, is establishing that run. Because when you have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, I mean, it'll definitely force, it'll definitely force the defense to sub out like a safety or a corner and bring in like a nickel or a linebacker to try and stop that run. And then you have those extra mismatches for all your receivers to do any type of route combination you want. So it's definitely something that they need to look into. Now moving on to the defensive side of the ball, neither team could stop a squirrel from rushing. Like it was bad from rush or from just gaining yards. Honestly, the Chargers offense looked phenomenal running the ball. I mean, Austin Eckler was just getting everything he wanted. The Chargers O-line was just dominating the line of scrimmage and reestablishing the line of scrimmage a yard and a half, even sometimes 2 yards down the field. And that was something that was definitely pushing the Dolphins back, but you got to hand it to them. The Chargers played great up front, which enabled them to get, I don't know how many rushing yards they got, but Austin Eckler himself had 117 rushing yards himself. So that's something we really need to do. But Vic Fangio, man, I don't know what's going on with him. His play calling was questionable, and then the last 2 drives, he decided, you know what, I'm actually gonna win the game here for us. It's enough. We've given them enough. And then he just started blitzing. He started doing 5-man fronts. He started putting a spy on the running back, which took all game. So yeah, I don't know. I hope these adjustments that are gonna be made over the course of the week leading into New England are gonna be better. But the Dolphins defense needs to. I thought the Dolphins secondary played all right, but yeah. All right. So next thing is Justin Herbert. I thought he threw the ball really well. He completed 70% of his passes, going 23 of 33 for 1 touchdown. But I thought he played really well. I thought the Dolphins defense played really well, or the secondary, played really well. But Justin Herbert was finding those zones and really throwing the ball in there and really getting what he wanted. So props to Justin Herbert. He played great, I thought. But Austin Eckler was the main story. I mean, rushed for 117 yards, 1 touchdown, had 6 receptions for 47 yards, and he had 164 total yards himself. Now, he did go down with an ankle injury, which is probably why they went away from the run in the last drive or two, which sucks for Austin Eckler. But the Chargers need to pay this man because he was virtually unstoppable, and the Dolphins had the 6th best rush defense in the NFL last season. So he's the main advocate for getting running backs paid, and man, he's just great. And especially with that offensive line there, he could easily go over for 2,000 all-purpose yards again. I mean, easily, with ease. So, excuse me. One thing that I want to touch on is Donald Parham Jr. He was the Chargers tight end, and he's 6'8", like 240, I think. Man, is he the next Antonio Gates or what? Like, they were lining him up, and none of our guys could just get up there with him. So I'm looking forward to see him because I think that's a sneaky weapon. 6'8", next Antonio Gates. I don't know. But now moving on to the Rams and Seahawks. So I went back and watched this game, and Matthew Stafford was dealing, man. He was playing great, especially without Cooper Kupp. The Rams dominated this game the entire time. On both sides of the ball, but offensively especially. So the Rams won by 17 points, which is a wild margin to a team that went to the playoffs last season. But they also missed 2 field goals. So they could have won by 23 points, but they ended up missing this one. What else? They only punted once. Keep that in mind. So they scored on every possession besides the 2 missed field goals. And they only punted once. So They scored on all 5 possessions in the second half. I mean, this team was firing. They also got a rookie wide receiver who Stafford found his next favorite target. What was his name? Puka Nakua. He went for 10 receptions, 119 yards. It seemed like almost every time Stafford was dropping back, he was just looking for this kid. This kid was always open. I believe he went to, I think it might have been FAU, but someone correct me if I'm wrong on that. But Seattle couldn't get anything going. And, oh yeah, Stafford had the second highest QBR in week 1. So, yeah, it was, I thought the Rams looked great. People like to kind of clown on them that they only have 3 players, which is Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford, and Cooper Kupp. But they just showed the NFL, look, we got weapons. Cam Akers, we don't need you. We also got other running backs, and we still have Matthew Stafford, who is that quarterback when he's not injured. So I thought they did a really good job. They also did a good job defensively of stopping the run. And Seattle and Geno just could not get anything going. They got it going in the first half, but then after that, nothing was going. I don't know if you guys saw, but the video of Geno Smith dropping back and then him seeing Aaron Donald running around his face and, oh my God, and then just throwing the ball. I thought that was hilarious. So, yeah. So moving on to the Titans and Saints game. I would rather watch every game of the Cleveland Browns 0-16 season than watch this game again. To be completely honest with you guys, I thought this game was horrible. Tannehill threw 3 interceptions. I don't know why D-Hop would take his talents to Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans, but Derrick Henry still rushed the ball for, I think it was 60-something yards. But the Titans just couldn't get anything going in terms of throwing the ball downfield. I think Tannehill's QBR was like 10. He threw the ball for like 120 or 30 yards. He was not looking good. Now, Derek Carr did throw the ball for 305 yards, and he had a touchdown, but he also had an interception. But he just was not looking good. And that interception was a horrible interception as well. So, only one offensive touchdown was scored all game, and it was the fade route in the end zone that Derek Carr threw. So, yeah, I really don't know what D-Hop was doing. I mean, he did have a couple of catches for, I forget how many yards, but Marshawn Lattimore was on him like white on rice, man. He had 1 pick. He had a lot of batted down balls. I mean, he played great defensively, and the Saints definitely won. The Saints defense definitely won them that game. So I thought that was something that I'm gonna move this right here. I thought that was something that was definitely worth note. Is Saints defense was the story of that game. But let's see what else I got here. Chris Olave played great, I thought. Derek Carr has another weapon other than Michael Thomas, who I thought it was great to see Michael Thomas come out again. Finally be healthy after only playing, I think it was 13 games in 3 seasons, battling all these injuries. So I feel so bad, but I'm glad to see him back. He had a couple of catches too. But the Saints look all right offensively. They also have Jamal Williams. And then, of course, you can't forget Taysom Hill, who is apparently the greatest NFL player of all time. If you guys saw that, you guys know what I'm talking about. But the Saints, I don't want to say, the Saints looked good. Derek Carr just did not look good, in my opinion. And Ryan Tannehill looked horrendous, if I'm being honest. So, but yeah, the NFC South is definitely interesting now. You had the Falcons win against Carolina. You had the Bucs win on the road in Minnesota. And then you also had the Saints win. So, nice wins. The Saints also have a very easy schedule this season. So don't be surprised if they win the NFC South. I'm a big believer in Derek Carr. Like, he's a great man. He has Christian values. He holds himself to the highest standards. He's a nice man. I love him. It's just on the field, he just sucks, if I'm going to be completely honest. He has, in 9 years, 1 playoff appearance, and he got paid all this money. Like, he's some all-pro talent, and I don't know. I think he was overpaid a little bit. I would have liked to see maybe $30 million a year, anywhere between like 32 and 35 a year, but you know, it is what it is. So, yeah, now let's move on to the next one, the Bucs and Vikings game. If you know anything about me, you know that I'm a believer in Baker Mayfield. I feel like he gets slandered way too much. Um, he was he brought the Browns back from 0-16 to getting them just below, or they were even, I believe. And then the next season brought them to the playoffs and was one play away from beating the Chiefs and going to the AFC Championship game. And then after that, Baker suffered a ton of injuries and then was traded to Carolina, where he got hurt and then got benched. And then he went to the Rams and had that, awesome comeback win with touchdown to Vance Jefferson. So that was cool. And then now he's on the Bucs. So it's really cool to see him kind of progress. He's been through all these different offensive coordinators, all these different offensive play callers and offensive systems. So he definitely, it's a double-edged sword, right? Like, he has been through all these offenses, so like he knows so much, but it's also kind of you also feel bad because you just want him to be in a system for more than a year, because in Cleveland he had Mike Stefanski, Freddie Kitchens, and then one other guy I can't remember, but yeah. So Baker, I thought he played great. He only had 173 yards of passing yards, but he played really well. He was 21 of 34, completed 62% of his passes. He also had 8 rushes for 11 yards. But man, when he rushed the ball, he got some important yards, especially that first down late in the game to kind of seal it there, kind of leaving it all on the line. That's the kind of quarterback you want leading your team and leading your offense. Just being just so in the moment and wanting it all and being so competitive. So it's great to see Baker succeed. There were only about 1 or 2 throws where I was kind of like, it's not the greatest throw, but all of his throws were good misses. The ones that he did not complete, but he was definitely spreading the ball around. He had completions to 7 different receivers, and at first I know that may not seem like a lot, but Tua, who threw for 466 yards, had completions to 7 different receivers. So Baker was definitely spreading that ball around, and kind of getting everyone involved and going through the progressions, and that's what you like to see. But aside from Baker, the defense definitely won them this game. I mean, they had 2 or 3 takeaways. It seemed like every time on red zone they were switching back to this game, and it was another turnover. I know Kirk Cousins, I know he played really well, and the Vikings put up like 450 yards of offense, but they just kept getting the ball they kept turning over the ball. One in the end zone where the Vikings receiver caught the ball, and then the Bucs safety just ripped it out of his hands, and then there were like 2 fumbles, I believe. So sorry, I keep touching my nose. There's like, I don't know, hair or something. Anyways, let's see what I got here. Yeah, so Justin Jefferson, of course, we know his contract negotiations that were going on prior to the regular season, or week 1 was starting, and they didn't come to an agreement, and then Justin Jefferson went off. I think he had 10 catches for like 100, or 11 catches for 150 yards. But in the second half, he only had 2 catches for 12 yards, and it's kind of like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we not getting him the ball anymore? I feel like that was the main reason that they lost that game, aside from the turnovers. So yeah, I just want to see more incorporation of getting Jetta the ball. There were a couple passes where Kirk Cousins kind of threw bad passes to Jetta, but yeah, you can tell they missed Dalvin Cook there, because Alexander Mattison did not rush for that many yards, and it was kind of hard to get that run game going. But Kirk Cousins threw the ball for over 300 yards, so you can't really complain there. But yeah, I'm hyped to see Baker and this Bucs offense. Todd Bowles, that's something I didn't touch on. Todd Bowles is just not a good head coach. I don't think he's calling the plays anymore. But it reflects on him. He's not out there actually playing football. But all of it reflects on him. And then the Bucs offensive line, I thought they played okay. They were able to establish the run somewhat, but they really got to get that O-line together a little bit more. Baker was being rushed and hurried and had to scramble a little bit too much. So that's definitely something that the Bucs need to work on moving forward. The next thing I have here is the Jags and Colts. So if your name is Garrett Palagna, then hello, welcome. One of my friends, he was a Florida Gators fan, likes AR, so this is going to be something I'm going to talk about here. But the Colts played horrible, if we're just going to be honest here. They played horrible, and they were one of the worst teams in the NFL last season for a reason, and they're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL for a reason this season. So out of the 14 offensive possessions that the Colts had, they only scored on 2 of them. Let me say that again. Out of the 14 drives that the Colts and Anthony Richardson had, they only scored twice. So it was not great. You could definitely see them missing Jonathan Taylor, Anthony Richardson being their leading rusher with 40 yards and a touchdown. But AR did not play well. I don't want to say he played like trash, but he definitely did not play decent. He played all right, I think. There were 3 or 4 passes where he dropped back, had a wonderful pocket, stepped into the throw, and just threw it right into the dirt. And if you're a subscriber on this channel and you watch my videos regularly, you know that I have said a couple of times that Anthony Richardson cannot throw the ball, and there are just some players that cannot play quarterback. And Anthony Richardson is one of those players who cannot throw the ball downfield. I'm sorry. It's just something. Some quarterbacks have it. Some quarterbacks don't. Anthony Richardson does not have it. And he proved me right by throwing an interception, by trying to throw the ball downfield late in the 4th quarter. So, yeah. Another thing that I noticed about Anthony Richardson, going back and watching film, is he was staring at his first progression way too long. His offensive line, honestly, was playing pretty good, giving him time to throw the ball, but he was just dropping back, staring at his first progression, and then after 3-4 seconds, he realized, oh my god, I gotta run. And by that time, the pocket has collapsed, and you can't really blame the offensive line for giving you 4 seconds to throw and you wanting more, you know? By that time, the ball should already be out, and you should be on to the next play. So, but moving on to the Jags, they played great, I thought. You could definitely tell towards the end of the 3rd and in the 4th quarter, they started cracking down on Anthony Richardson running the ball just a little bit. But offensively, I thought Trevor Lawrence was dealing. He was throwing some great passes. He had that one pass in the corner of the end zone where that receiver made the one-handed catch. I don't know who that was, but it was a hell of a throw and a hell of a one-handed catch. So yeah, he was making great reads, throwing the ball, also rushing the ball. He was their 2nd leading rusher, believe it or not. Trevor Lawrence still has those wheels that he had at Clemson. Travis Etienne also rushed the ball for 70 yards and also had that nice block downfield. So the Jags are looking good. They're definitely the leaders of the AFC South, and they're probably going to win the AFC South again. I could see them losing a divisional game or two. It's just, you know, divisional games, they can go either way. So that game was close up until the 3rd quarter when the Colts fumbled, and then just kind of they had the fumble return for a touchdown. So yeah. But anyways, I thought that was a good game. If you're looking at it stats wise, excluding like the second half of the 3rd quarter and the 4th quarter, AR played good. And then once you add that in, once the Jags started to take note, he started to when AR needed to throw the ball down the field past the linebackers, that's when he definitely struggled. Although I will say he did have a really good pass. I'm not sure it was for a touchdown or not, but there was like this little slant play where a blitz came off and he had to throw it around someone. He completed a nice pass, so I'll give him props there. He's doing the easy stuff good, but when it comes to more difficult stuff and throwing the ball downfield and trying to go to that second level, he definitely struggled. And it's only going to take a matter of time until NFL defenses are going to realize, okay, this is how we got to play him. Let's force him to throw the ball and beat it. Let him beat us that way. And he's not going to be able to do it. So, yeah. Moving forward to the Bengals and Browns game. If you know me, you know I'm a Joe Burrow fan, and that game was horrible. He played horrible. There's no excuse for it. He just played horrible. The Browns defense and their secondary, man, they played phenomenal. I mean, of course the Dallas defense didn't let up any points, right? But I think the Browns defense played better, if I'm being honest. I mean, you have T. Higgins, you have Jamar Chase, you have Joe Mixon. I'm missing another receiver, but he only threw for like 83 yards. I mean, their secondary and their front four was just on another level. And Deshaun Watson, I thought, played great. I have him in fantasy, so I thought he played great. He had 2 touchdowns and an interception. So yeah, off the field stuff aside, also in the last podcast I had said, the odds are being too nice to the Bengals. Don't be surprised if the Browns win, and they won this game very, very one-sided. So the offensive line for the Bengals has been a story for the last 2 years, 3 years. Excuse me, and it's still the story now. So that's definitely something that the Bengals need to improve on. But with Myles Garrett, I don't know if there's much you can do. So the Bengals only scored on 1 out of their 15 possessions, I believe it was. So that's not good at all, especially after Joe Burrow got his massive contract. So yeah, I saw a couple passes though where Joe Burrow went to go throw the ball and it kind of slipped out of his hands. So I mean, excuses, but it was rainy, but he still played horrible nonetheless. So let's move on to the Eagles and Patriots game. So I went back and watched this game. This game was great. I was sitting here watching and I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? Of course, I already knew the Eagles won, but I was like, wow. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's currently storming. I don't know if there's a hurricane that's coming to hit us. I think it's Hurricane Lee, so I don't know if that's going to be hitting us. But if you can't hear it, I apologize. I'm just looking at the mic sensitivity, see if it picks it up. Okay, no, you guys can't hear it. The camera mic is picking it up, but I have that muted. So, but yeah, this game I thought was really good and entertaining. When I went back and watched it, I was like, wow, Mac Jones was actually dealing. I mean, I haven't seen this type of Mac Jones ever, and he was dealing. He was not afraid to sling that ball aside from the first quarter. But let's start off with the Eagles. So the Eagles did have that pick six, and then they missed an extra point, which was the doink. But I thought Hurts played really well. I thought he was really dealing the ball, and just getting the ball to the right place, and especially with the Eagles' offensive line, who I thought was going to be great. But with the Patriots' defensive front, they definitely applied some pressure. But the Eagles' front line, I thought they did not play well. They allowed Jalen Hurts to get sacked 3 or 4 times, I believe, and he was pressured a ton and had to scramble and use his legs. But I thought Jalen Hurts did a good job with what was presented to him. But Kenneth Gainswell, new RB1. If you haven't picked him up in fantasy, go ahead and do that. But yeah, I thought the Eagles played good. They started off 16-0, and then allowed the Patriots to come out in the second quarter and allowed Mac Jones to deal and cut the game to 14-16 at halftime. But what killed the Patriots this whole game, if you watched it, was penalties. Penalties definitely killed this team. I mean, they had chances where they were in the red zone, and then they just got 3-4 penalties in a row, and it pushed them all the way out to the 50 and forced them to punt. Another thing was in the fourth quarter with about 9 minutes remaining, it was 4th and 3 from the Eagles' 17-yard line, I believe. And instead of kicking the field goal and making it a one-possession game, the Patriots decided to go for it. And ultimately, that's what costed them. Because the Patriots' last 2 possessions in that game, they were in the red zone, but they needed a touchdown. So had they kicked that field goal and not gone for it on 4th down, they could have easily tied that game and gone to overtime. But they didn't. So I thought the game was great overall. They had multiple chances to win that game. Like I said, I was sitting here watching. I was like, damn, they have another chance. They have another chance to win this game, and they just didn't. So I thought Zeke played pretty well. Juju played pretty well. It was nice to see Gesicki get a couple grabs. But A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, that touchdown from Devontae Smith where Jalen Hurts rolls out and throws it to him low and away. I thought that was beautiful art. But the Eagles, I thought, did not look as good as they should have, especially being in the Super Bowl last season. Excuse me. So I thought they could have looked a lot better. Of course, it's only week 1, but just basing the Eagles off week 1, I don't think they're Super Bowl contenders. I would like to see more of what I saw last season, but their O-line didn't play great, which was their foundation for Jalen Hurts' success. But yeah, what are you gonna do? So now, last thing, actually not last thing, we got 2 more things. Is Jordan Love. He had his NFL debut starting week 1. Actually, I don't know if it was his debut, so Packers fans can correct me. But if I were to describe his debut in one word, it would definitely be hopeful. Be hopeful, because he played good. Okay, he played good. Out of 7 of his passes, 7 of them were inaccurate, either overthrown, behind the receiver, thrown in the dirt, rushed passes. So those were some ugly passes where I was kind of like, oh man, what are we doing here, kind of thing. And you just want to see him. It looks like he's trying to be too Aaron Rodgers-esque with his stature in the pocket, just on his toes too much, trying to throw off his back foot and look like Rodgers. So, but yeah, I thought he played good. He played good. There was the 4th and 3 where I think they were on about the 32, 33 yard line, and Jordan Love drops back, and the running back runs an option route. So he has the option once he runs out of the backfield to either break left or break right, depending on how the linebacker is lined up, guarding him. And the linebacker, or the running back broke in, and Jordan Love put that ball on the money, and it went for a touchdown. So I thought that was beautiful. I think that was Aaron Jones. I thought it was a beautiful execution on that play. And then the fumble play was awesome. I thought the snap was fumbled, dropped back, bootleg, looking deep, man wide open, throws it deep. It wasn't a touchdown, but I thought that was a great play. And then his other touchdown, I mean, that was elite ball placement. I'm talking about the last one. That was elite ball placement. He's, when he throws the ball and he rips it in there, he throws a good ball, and he was hitting some checkdowns, but when, his misses were misses. Like, they weren't good misses where it's like, okay, that's only where the receiver can get it. These were misses where I was kind of like, what are we doing here? Kind of, those are the types of misses where if you have a starting quarterback who has been playing iffy, that you pull him and bench him. But, he's the starter for the future, so not too bad. But I kind of want to say let's pump the brakes on Jordan Love a little bit. Let's he played good, but he just played the Chicago Bears, who had the worst defense in the NFL last season. And I don't mean one of the worst, I mean the worst. Out of the 32 teams in the NFL, the Bears ranked 32nd in their defense last season. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Like, he played good, he hit his reads, but he also had some really bad passes. And against this Chicago Bears defense, they did put up 31 points because one of the touchdowns was special teams or their defense. So let's pump the brakes a little bit. I want to see him play, kind of get in the rhythm a little bit more, play against some more stout defenses, and once he starts progressing in those, then I can be like, okay, Jordan Love, you've established yourself. I just want to see some more. So one more thing that I want to talk about is two more things. Yeah, is the Dallas and Giants game. The Giants, like Stephen A. Smith, have Saquon Barkley in a bag of chips. They have one of the hardest schedules in the NFL, so I can see them winning 9 games max. But Daniel Jones went out and got paid and just played like crap. So it was just not a good performance from Daniel Jones at all. You had Kadarius Toney trolling on his Instagram story after after a lot of Giants fans were like, "Oh, that's why we traded you. Thank God we traded you." And now look, you just got 40 boarded by Dallas. So I thought Dallas played pretty good. Tony Pollard was running the ball really well. The Cowboys front line too. After they paid both of their two of their linemen, I thought they played well as well. Wow, that was kind of a bad sentence, but what am I trying to say here? I thought Dak played pretty well. You know, he does get a lot of slander, but he played well. If he can eliminate some of those dumb mistakes, he can be really, really well. But yeah, they played well. The defense also obviously held the Giants to 0 points, not letting Daniel Jones get anything. Their front line, and Micah Parsons obliterated the Giants' O-line. I mean, this was just a beatdown on every aspect of the play. And the Giants have been outscored 78-7 in their last 2 games. So, Giants fans, you guys can relax now. So the last thing I want to talk about is I'm currently recording this when let me turn this on, when the Bills and Jets game is happening, believe it or not. And the reason I started recording, let me mute that, is because it was halftime. The score was 13-3, and Aaron Rodgers had gotten hurt on the 4th play of the game. And I was really pissed because, if I'm being honest, as a Dolphins fan, I was more excited to watch Aaron Rodgers on the Jets than I was to watch the Dolphins game. I mean, I was just so excited, and to see him get hurt, still waiting on the result. You know, the x-rays were negative. So, yeah, right now I'm looking at the score. The 3rd quarter just ended. The score is 13-6. So the Bills did not score anything in the 3rd quarter, but the Jets got another field goal, and it looks like Josh Allen threw another interception, which is wow. But let's see, he's only 6 incompletions and 2 interceptions, and just 2 things to kind of know here is, 1, the Jets' offensive line is horrible. I mean, horrible. Robert Saleh was addressing it during Hard Knocks, and it's still an issue. And also the Bills' offensive line is horrible. But you feel bad for Aaron Rodgers coming to a new team, getting hurt in training camp with that calf injury, being healthy. I mean, this stadium was electric. I mean, electric. And him running out with the American flag, everyone getting hyped. I mean, I was so hyped. I have goosebumps right now. You guys probably can't see it, but I was excited to watch him play. One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time finally has a top 10 defense and great offensive weapons, and he gets hurt. So it's just one of those things where it sucks. But Josh Allen struggles like when he plays great defenses. I mean, at some point we're going to talk about, is Joe Burrow a top 3 quarterback? Because a lot of people like to put him ahead of Joe Burrow. And when he plays great defenses, he does not play good. I mean, it's a statistical fact. He does not play great when he plays against great defenses. So, but yeah, now we have Zach Wilson in the game, and just going to see where it goes from here. But I doubt they're going to win the game. So, all right, so as I'm editing this, the Jets win the game on a walk-off touchdown punt return in overtime. Josh Allen is now 0-5 in overtime. Josh turned the ball over, had 3 interceptions and 1 fumble. Did not look good against the Jets. Whenever he plays a great defense, he tends to crumble. But Zach Wilson comes in. I wouldn't say he saved the day. I think he played all right and kind of checking the ball down when he needed to, and kind of hitting the ball or getting the ball downfield. But that offensive line is brutal. But, when you have playmakers on your team and they get the ball, they're going to make plays. So, yeah, just want to leave that with you guys as I was editing this. Kind of give you my thoughts on that. Aaron Rodgers is going to be out for the season with a torn Achilles. It's not officially confirmed, although the x-ray was negative. Tomorrow morning they're going to be doing a MRI to confirm what we already believe. But Aaron Rodgers out for the season. I'm curious to see who the Jets are going to go sign as a backup quarterback. Maybe a Carson Wentz, a Colt McCoy. Josh Rosen is out there. I know people like to hate on him, but there are a couple guys out there, maybe Colin Kaepernick, that they might sign. So yeah, get back to the video. But anyways, that's going to do it for today's episode. I'm really enjoying this short form content. I'm trying to pace myself when I'm talking. I don't know if you guys noticed, but within like the first 10 minutes, I noticed I was talking too fast, and I was like, let me just calm down. I'm doing a podcast. Let me just talk. Let me just talk and relax. So bear with me as I'm learning and growing here. But let me know what you all think in the comments below. Hopefully you all enjoyed. And as always, I will see you all next video.